also known as Max 21D. Intuitive Healer, Akashic Records, your galactic race soul family. Those who guide you, those who protect you. Past lives on Earth and elsewhere in the universes. Max 21D performs remote viewing, deactivating chips and codes or programming, raising the vibrations and healing this great planet. We are co-creating a better reality. You're listening to Wolf Spirit Radio.
Hello, everyone. This is Wolfman Jack calling from Minnesota. I'm back in the radio again, but no, not really. It's me, Max. I can't talk like him. I used to, but I'm not anymore. But I want to thank everyone here being on the Max Steel Show. It's being recorded and broadcast through Wolf Spirit Radio out of Scotland. And please, this is a listener-supported station. Please donate. I always forget that, but I try not to. My website's max21d.com, and I do readings and all that kind of stuff. And I also have the Arcturian box that I'm putting together. There's so many I got to put together. I'm caught up with that. I want to thank my producer, Russ. I call him Rusty Baby, but yeah, I think he likes it. Anyway, I want to thank my wife, Nicole, as my co-host. And I had a little problem with technical difficulty with Jennifer Martin, who's my co-host. I'm sorry. I hope she keeps trying to get him here. And we'll just come on in. If you can't, that's okay. Next week will be another great show with you. Will you be in it? You being in it. I want to thank also Vanessa, my Sergeant of Arms, Little Pony, she's here. And UL, wow. Well, I call him Mr. You. So I want to thank also the Wolf Spirit radio chat room. You guys are always great, giving great questions. And I also have they always forget. What? Just say it.
Cody Snodgres.
No, nothing. I wasn't going to get to him yet, but I know the guess. I'm sorry. It wasn't the guess I was going to say, but I want to thank the people all over the world that are listening. I got some new contacts in Turkey, China, and New Zealand. They've been asking about the Arcturian box. Thank you all for allowing me to be on the radio show tonight for you. My special guest is Cody Snodgres, and he's an incredible person. He does put his life on the line every day, not just for himself, but for the people that are listening to what he's got to say. And come on in there, Cody. You're welcome to the show.
Hey, Max, thanks a lot. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'd like to say hi to Little Pony and hi to all the people listening. It's a great pleasure to be here tonight.
Well, thank you. That's really great, and I really appreciate taking him out of your old busy schedule and your timeline to be here with us. I would like to talk about some of the false flag going on out there, especially what's going on there in California with homes being cut with lasers and starting fire. I mean, it's really a terrible thing to do. And whatever information you got, share it with us, please.
Well, yeah, I was born out in Santa Monica, California, and I have some relatives and some friends in the area. And we've been getting a few, calls about what people have seen just in their local area. And that fire now in Northern California is one of the biggest in history. I think it has surpassed in acreage, to be the biggest one in history now in California. And we're here in Colorado now, and the smoke from these fires has been very bad here. And we got a call from a friend up in Oregon today, and he said the smoke was horrible. It's very toxic. It's making people sick around here. A lot of old people have to stay inside and stuff. But we've also had reports, and there was some stuff on the internet about those DEWs, the directed energy weapons. And it appears that some of those fires were set. And in Sonoma County, as you probably know, and a lot of your listeners know, that Agenda 21 fire, the fire matched the UN's Agenda 21 map almost perfectly for the evacuation zone. So that was highly suspicious. And it looks like they're starting these things. First they're chemtrailing the airs and geoengineering, spraying the airs with particulates and drying out. We had a drought here in Colorado. There was, 6 weeks of nothing, absolute bone dry heat, drought. And then we had about 7 or 8 fires spring up around us who matched the UN. So, we're getting a little reverb there, but we saw them, we watched them, and took pictures. And they geoengineer sprayed, chemtrail sprayed. One day I counted 37 planes in the air spraying horrendously. And then the 6-week drought came, and then the fires came. And my partner, Ole Damagard, over in Spain now on lightonconspiracies.com, we did a show with him. And in Sweden, they've got about 80 fires over there. Norway, Finland, there's fires everywhere. It's unprecedented. And over in California, we heard, I think his name's John Locke. He's a firefighter that has about 30 years experience with CAL FIRE. That's California Fire. And he said that he's never in his 30-year career seen fires like this. And he spoke to the directed energy weapons. And there were some pictures taken on cell phones. People were walking around, at night just observing the fires. And then you could see the bluish white beams come down real quick and then disappear. And they were bluish white in a visible spectrum. I think they're using microwave weapons, directed energy microwave weapons, and also sodium-based lasers. That's my best guess at what they've been using. But first, the tactic of the New World Order is to spray, geoengineer spray for weeks. Then they dry the forests and the areas out over the next couple of months or so. And then they wait for a high wind day, or they wait for the right conditions. And then they can fly over and turn these things on and start fires. And for my training in Black Ops and the way they do things, it wouldn't surprise me that they would have, ground teams of like foreign nationals or ex-military cutouts that would also be setting fires as a cover, for the DEW weapons, the directed energy weapons. And so it's probably a multi-layered operation to ensure that multiple fires are set and the areas that they need are destroyed. But we don't have any actionable intelligence except for, people that we talk to and things that we hear and the pictures that we see on the internet. But I believe that not all, but some of these fires are definitely set by the directed energy weapons, because they've had trees that were burning from the inside, but they had leaves and bark that were still intact on the outside of the tree. There were motor blocks that were, like you said, cut in half. There were some houses that weren't touched, and then everything around them completely incinerated. And there's, according to that John Locke, the firefighter out there, he said he's never seen anything like these type of fires.
Hi, Cody, it's Nicole here. So do you think Obviously, these are directed energy weapons that are going on with the fires, because we're also having fires up here in British Columbia, in Canada. And the smoke, I'm in Alberta, the province next to British Columbia, and the smoke today has been ridiculous. We've even had 2 or 3 days of rain, but it doesn't seem to matter. Everything seems to have picked up in the last day. I don't know if you have any more information about that or would like to get into a different topic. It's up to you.
Well, I just like to say that they're coming online now with the 5G, and
That's funny you mentioned that.
transmitters. They have to be every 400 to 500 feet because the 5G waveform is. I mean, I can talk a whole lot about all of it, but to summarize it, the 5G stuff has to have line of sight, and the transmitters have to be spaced approximately 400 to 500 feet. It's a real high frequency in the 30 gigahertz to 300 gigahertz, real high frequency waveform. It's a complex waveform with multiple carrier waves, and it has to be line of sight. And what they were talking about over in Europe the other day, and especially in Sweden, was that a lot of these fires, there was 80 of them burning, which is an all-time record high. And we talked to a friend in Germany, and they talked to their family there and said that they did the same thing that they did here in Colorado. They sprayed with the chemtrails and geoengineering first, dried the forest out, then the fires came. And what they're doing is clearing line of sight paths for these new 5G communications grid. And the 5G, of course, can be weaponized, and we can talk about that later. But it could be that they're burning some of these forests up deliberately to make room for this worldwide 5G web when it comes online.
Wow, that's terrible. It's funny you mentioned that because just in my area, they were upgrading some towers, and I actually had no internet for about 2.5, 3 days. And they're already setting things up, and it's messing things up. And almost half of the province, from central Alberta to southern Alberta, about 66% of the people had no internet access, and for all the customers. They're already doing upgrades here, and we're getting a taste of it already. It seems to be starting.
Cody, this is Russ here, the producer. Do they use the internet to connect these 5Gs all together, or do they access them from a different way?
Well, the 5Gs are a separate electronic system, and then they can be tied into internet through servers. But the 5G stuff, it's amazing, what they have. They're millimeter wave spectrum, and a gigahertz is, a billionth of a hertz. And so a 30 gigahertz 5G wave, for instance, it's 30 billionths of a hertz. And a hertz is, a cycle per second. And what a lot of people don't know about this stuff, the 5G employs three patterns in its waveform: a low frequency, which is 0.6 gigahertz to about 3.7, and then the mid-range is 3.7 to 24 gigahertz, and the high range is 24 gigahertz up to 300. But here in the United States, the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, they have an unlicensed part of the spectrum. And this spectrum is from 61 gigahertz to 71 gigahertz. And that's open to all. That means anybody can use it. Telecom companies, intelligence agencies, the NSA, bootleggers, hackers, anybody can use that frequency. And so once they set this 5G grid up with all the transmitters, the wavelengths, they have a very narrow beam, and the antennas can be as small as a few millimeters. So you can put hundreds of these antennas together in antenna elements that are phased arrays. And once you put these little plastic boxes containing these antenna elements all around, then anyone can get into this 5G network, and they can use 61 to 71 gigs unlicensed, and they can use it any way they want. they can use that for doing all kinds of nefarious things like hacking or tampering with other signals. So the 5G thing can be hooked into the internet, but they got to get the system set up first. And it's got, I can talk a long time. I know a whole lot about it, but the main thing with it is that once they set this system up, it can interface with the internet, okay? And it can also be weaponized. It can be altered from a civilian communications grid, just like our 4G cell phones are now, but with weaponization characteristics like crowd control and various other things. So it's a very dangerous thing, but it can hook into the internet, yeah.
I noticed, I know another thing about the higher frequencies, they require less power in order to drive the frequency when it's ultra high like that. And so when they start using the parabolic antennas and that sort of thing, the multiplication factor gets really, really crazy. So the intensity can be really out of sight. And I was wondering if that's an issue also.
Yeah, it is. You know, they say the telecom companies, you know, are promoting this technology, and it has not been tested. It has not been tested for effects on biological organisms. And so when they turn this grid on, there's a great potential to disrupt things, and we can get into some of the science of that later. But they sell it, you know, there's going to be 22 million jobs created, like here in America, and that the 5G will decrease download speeds by about 10 gigabytes a second. You can download a full HD movie, for instance, in seconds, and so forth. And they tout all the good stuff, but they're using two basic waves with this, and one of them is the CP DFDM or OFDM, excuse me, it's cyclic prefix orthogonal frequency division multiplexing. And then the other waveform is the DFT SOFDM, which is discrete Fourier transform spread orthogonal frequency division multiplexing. Now that's a mouthful of technical gobbledygook, but what it means is there's several carrier waves and they have complex waveforms. And just like you said, the power of these things can be decreased or increased according to what they're at, but they've got to put the antennas about every 500 feet. And they have to do that because of the way the waveform spreads with what they call spherical wave divergence. The antenna arrays they use can be set up to narrow that and restrict that spherical wave divergence. But the more spherical wave divergence you have in a transmission of a 5G wave, the more power you have to send it over a distance. The 4Gs go over a lot longer distance, but these 5Gs are so complex that they interfere actually with the oxygen molecules in the air.
How can they be disrupted?
Well, they can be disrupted, by, there's a lot of ways they can be disrupted. One thing you do is shut off the power grid. So there's no power going to them.
You can run things out of phase also, the same signal out of phase, reverse phase.
Yeah, if you had the right equipment, you could measure the waveform, and then you could create a microwave waveform 180 degrees out of phase. And then when you put them both together, they kind of cancel.
Okay. Up in Canada, in Toronto area, I know that they're putting them in neighborhoods. So what can the everyday person do to counter this? Because they're probably going to put them in light posts, street light posts, because they're about 500 feet apart.
Yeah, they've got little plastic boxes that are kind of weatherproof where they can put these phase antenna arrays in them. Like I said, they're really small, and they'll put them on lamp posts or street signs or whatever they can get away with. One thing you can do is attempt to shield. There's polymers and certain reflective stuff that you can get that absorb or reflect electromagnetic radiation. And people can Google that up and find different materials in their area. And you can make layers of them too. You can also put extra building blocks and concrete and stuff around to help block them. You can move out of the area, but you can also, if you have a basement or something that's down under the ground, you could also move your sleeping quarters or whatever down there and get underneath them. The idea is to saturate the area, and they want to do it globally eventually, so that they can control the ambient electromagnetics of the whole airspace. And the interesting thing about this stuff is that it can be weaponized. For instance, the 4G that we have here now with our cell phones in America, the natural resonance frequency of the human cranium is approximately 840 megahertz. And they have found that when you modulate a microwave field around that frequency, that they can set up resonance patterns inside the human craniums. And this is a weaponization of these fields. FEMA and Homeland Security can take over our civilian existing networks and then use the frequencies modulated around this 840 megahertz resonance frequency of the human cranium, and actually cause people to be lethargic. They can create dizziness, nausea, lethargy, anger, various emotions, and various physiological and neurological symptoms. And so that's already in place here. But when the 5G comes online, they can do a whole lot more as far as affecting biological systems with it.
Okay, I want to add a few things here. We can quietly, without nobody knowing, if these objects are up there in these poles or wherever they're at, you don't have to say who you are, whatever. Just go ahead, and if I was out there and I had something on my pole here, I can guarantee you it's not going to be there the next day, because I'll make it my duty to make sure it goes offline. And every time they put it, I'll take it offline again. And yeah, you can do as many. Well, you don't have to shoot into it. You just use a bow and arrow. Or have enough. If you're not scared of the height, just go up there with an extension ladder and get up there and knock it off.
Yeah, there's another thing people can do. We talked to some people in California out there, and they said that they had these telecom trucks and stuff coming around their neighborhoods, and they didn't know what was going on. So one thing I recommend everybody doing was going down there, writing down their license plates, stand there and talk to the guy and ask him over and over, what are you doing? Of course, they don't want to tell you, but, let them know that they're being watched and that you're keeping tabs on what they're doing. And that may be one way to kind of deter them a little bit. But I suspect when they set this 5G thing up and it starts rolling, that there's going to be a lot of, good old boys in Georgia and good old boys in Texas and stuff doing that very same thing. I think these things are going to get shot. They're going to get ripped off in the middle of the night. They're going to get hit with sledgehammers and so forth. So they're probably going to set up some secondary video surveillance around them, especially at the main junctions of these things. So they're expecting some kind of blowback from that. But if they can keep people dumbed down and ignorant about what these fields are capable of doing, they can use military weaponized microwaves in these things, and they can cause a wide variety of physiological effects. The Y gig is a 60 gigahertz field, and that's approximately where the oxygen atom, the O2 atom, absorbs frequencies, and O2 binds to hemoglobin. And so this can be weaponized in a way where people basically can sit there breathing air, but the oxygen doesn't hook up to the hemoglobin like it normally does. And you can slowly suffocate. You can be in a 5G field, and this 60 gigahertz field can cause oxygen not to bind properly to hemoglobin. And we all use hemoglobin. It's a molecule that's stable enough to hold oxygen and take it down into your body and release it to the tissues, and then uptake the carbon dioxide and bring it out to your lungs so you can exhale. But if the bonding mechanisms of oxygen with hemoglobin are affected by an electromagnetic field, then the hemoglobin doesn't work right. And this is a way, at the proper frequencies, proper amplitudes, and modulated, that it can actually be weaponized and turned into a device that can cause people to slowly suffocate. There's other things that they can do. Water molecules, H2O, they begin, if you just took an H2O atom and put it in a vacuum in space, it begins rotating on its axis with as small as a 2.4 gigahertz field. It oscillates at 2.4 billion times a second. And this frequency disrupts bond angles, and it also changes the magnetic moment around them, these molecules. And so you can believe that the military-industrial complex and the various intelligence agencies and militaries around the world have found a way to utilize this. They sell it to everyone as a new download speed and a great thing for consumers, but it can also be weaponized at the same time, and a lot of people aren't aware of this stuff.
Okay. There is a question here in the chat room here. It says, why do the normal news does not report any of that?
Yeah, well, the normal news is highly controlled, and that's a great question. It's controlled in different countries in different ways. I think here in America, there's like 5 main big news conglomerates that control everything. And the elite planners and the New World Order people, they want to set up this 5G grid, and they want to set up the Agenda 21 smart cities and get everyone herded into these smart cities where everything's controlled. They also control a lot of the news agencies. They control them through front companies and so forth. And so they don't want this information out because they want to keep people dumbed down. They don't want them to know that they might one day be controlled or mind controlled through this type of technology. So that's why they don't talk about it.
I have a suggestion, is that they manufacture a very cheap way to set up a pulse generator to amplify RF and an overload to knock these out. And if they could, that's a great idea right there too. And it would be mobile too. You could use it with a gas generator or something and just put it in the back of your truck. That's it. You just drive down the street with the carrier down there, and off you go. And you could sweep a whole neighborhood. How they couldn't keep up with you.
Exactly. The dangers of adding all of this stuff in the 5G spectrum, for instance, it creates denser a soup of electrosmog. In every city you go to around the world, doesn't matter what language you speak, in every major city, they have all this electrical stuff. They have regular microwaves. They have FM radio, AM radio, ultra high frequency radio. They have police bands, military bands, satellite signals, TV stations with 100 or more channels. And now they're going to add in this new 5G spectrum, and it all mixes together. All these different frequencies in a range across the electromagnetic spectrum, all these things make what they call electrosmog. And some people are very sensitive to this kind of stuff. It causes a variety of symptoms like nausea and headaches and lethargy and all kinds of things. And it also affects people's skin. It affects people's eyes, their hearts. There's immune system malfunctions, cell growth rates, bacteria resistance. There's effects on the atmosphere and the plants in the area, disruption of the natural ecosystem. and it goes on and on. There was a study done over in Europe, and it was an EU-funded review body. It was called Eclipse, EKLIPSE, and the listeners out there can Google this up. But they were doing policy impacts on biodiversity of the ecosystems, and they looked at 97 separate studies on how electromagnetic radiation can affect the environment and the biological systems, you know, cats, dogs, horses, people, in the environment. And their conclusion was that electromagnetic radiation could indeed pose a potential health risk. And so when you mix all this stuff up and put it in a big soup, and you've got these telecom companies who are just grabbing on this new technology, but they're not testing it. They're not testing it long term to see what it does, you know, to children. Like if you have a school and there's a big TV station transmitter and a big 124, you know, the kilovolt power lines, the big transmission lines. If you have 5G networks all around the school, what's it going to do to the developmental patterns of the children? You know, their frontal cortexes, their neocortexes, the endocrine system, and the neurological effects of someone who's not grown yet. And their cells are dividing very rapidly, and they're growing. What do these fields do to them? And some of the effects of this stuff may not show up for 20 or 30 or 40 years, just like the effects of the Agent Orange that was sprayed on our soldiers in Vietnam. Some of the stuff didn't show up for 20 or 30 years. Same thing with the depleted uranium weapons that were used in Desert Storm 1, January of 1991. Many of the sicknesses that our soldiers reported didn't start manifesting for 8, 9, 10 years later. So this new 5G is untested, and it is definitely being used to set up a control grid. And it's being sold to us. All the good stuff is being shown to everyone on the news, and then all the bad things, like the things that I'm talking about, weaponization and so forth, no one's talking about them, or few people are talking about them.
Okay, Cody, there's a question here. I keep muting myself out, and I forget I got to unmute myself. A question here from Love to Music. Yes, it does affect people, because I learned today that does people want us to go under 50 hertz frequency to make us sick. Please, any thought out on it?
Okay, I don't quite understand the question. What?
Well, it says here, is there any way, it said those people who want us to be under 50 hertz frequency to make us sick, please, is there any thoughts about it?
Oh, well, yeah, that low frequency, 50 hertz, that's way down on the frequency spectrum from what we're talking about with 5G. But they have studied many ways to use what they call ultra high frequency waves, which are the 5G, and then the very low frequency, the VLF waves, and they can cause a variety of health effects. It depends on the exposure rate, it depends on the amplitude of the waves, and the person's overall physical condition before they get bombarded with this stuff. But it is that stuff has been used, you know, as for weapons, and they have a lot of different things that can be used. You know, there's methods of apparatus for inducing desired states of consciousness. That was a U.S. patent in October 18th of 1994. They use subliminals. They can use noise generators and transmitters at various frequencies to harass people. One of those patents was given to a guy named Guy Adams and Jess Carden together on July 12th, 1977 here in the U.S. They also have psychoacoustic projectors. They have different hearing systems and silent subliminal presentation systems. So at that low frequency of 50 hertz, they also learn how to weaponize some of that stuff too. The best way, is to be aware of these things and learn how to shield yourself from them when they occur and know the symptoms of them. For instance, when someone's being hit with a directed energy microwave weapon at a higher frequency, around 840 megahertz to the 50 hertz, if you have the old metal fillings in your teeth, those metal fillings will absorb the microwave radiation at a faster rate than the subcutaneous tissue in your muscles and your jawbone and all that. And it has a higher coefficient of absorption. And so what happens is, like for instance, me, I've been hit with 4 different microwave attacks, and my teeth always start hurting. That's because the metal fillings absorb more energy, so they heat up faster, which impinges on my nerves. Just kind of like when you eat something really hot or you bite into an ice cube and your teeth hurt. That's one telltale sign. Another one is you start getting real confused. You might have your car keys in your hand and you're looking around for them. You're very disoriented, very confused. You can get nauseous and you get dizzy, and a lot of people report ringing in the ears. And when these symptoms occur and you do suspect that you may be under a microwave attack, then you can exit the area. Like what I'm doing right now, I'm not at my house. I am at a different location. They've been hitting my phone. They cut off my international emails coming in the country. They're being blocked. They hacked our website. We're under all forms of electronic harassment right now. So I'm at I'm at a different location right now. But you have to be aware of these things. But the low frequency, 50 hertz and all that stuff has been weaponized too. And so you got to be aware of this stuff. That's a good question. But this stuff goes over they've learned to weaponize the entire electromagnetic spectrum. And they all have different effects. And the CIA has used them in a lot of the sub-projects that they were doing in the MK Ultra program. The mind control program, they had 149 sub-projects. And those are some really amazing things when you get into that. They had, for instance, they had the Operation Often. That was one of the 149 sub-projects in the MK Ultra, and that was harnessing the power of occult and magic. They had Operation Spellbinder, which creates sleeper assassins. Then they had several of the sub-projects that dealt with directed energy weapons like ultra-high frequency, very high frequency, sonic weapons that used sound waves, which is a different type of a wave than electromagnetic. But if you use the right frequencies of sound, it can cause all kinds of havoc, headaches and nausea and so forth. So this is a big subject, and they've been studying it over decades. And it's time that I think we all need to wake up to this stuff so that we're not victims of it.
Yeah. They're doing this to harm us. They're not even respecting our privacy.
Message is received from Nicole.
They're not respecting our privacy. They're breaking all kinds of laws. They're trying to hurt us really bad. It's like if somebody attacks us, it's like they're actually being like a terrorist. They're acting like terrorists to harm their own people here in this country. We're patriots. The people that want to be patriots, we have the ability to do something about this, and just don't get caught when you do it, and try to keep a low profile when you do something like this. Don't tell any of your neighbors what you're up to. They can turn you in. You don't know who your friends are. But if you can do something about it, do it. Because if I start seeing something over here, I know exactly what to do. I ain't gonna say it though, but I'm actually saying now. But you know, we can do something about it.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of ways to protect yourself from this. Sometimes when I did interviews a few months ago, we were under a lot of pressure and a lot of attacks and harassment and so forth. I had bodyguards around my cabin out here in Colorado, and I have directional microwave finding equipment inside. And so what I would do was, if I suspected a microwave attack, I would get the direction and the coordinates, and then I radio to my men outside, and their orders were to proceed and disrupt the attack. But I want to tell a little story here about a guy. I'm not going to use his name, but he was a doctor in the U.S. Army, an officer, and he was involved in an Abu Ghraib prison scandal. And so they were torturing some prisoners, and they got close to death, needed medical attention. They called him, and then they brought him into the program. And when he saw what was really going on over there, he went to blow the whistle. And so the CI black bagged him, and they interrogated him and gave him mind control drugs and all kinds of crap to shut him up. But fast forward in time, he came here back to the States and let time go by, and he was getting a book out. And this book was supposed to be out about what really happened at the Abu Ghraib prison thing. And it was supposed to be out in June of this year. And in the month before that, in May, he was sitting at his house, and they were the manuscript had already been sent to the editor, and they were getting ready to publish the thing. And they hit him with a microwave attack. These things are like little backpack units. They got lithium-ion batteries, and they have a handheld dish where you can do line of sight, and you can just pull the trigger on it, and it beams somebody. Well, they hit him and caused a massive stroke. These things, if you ever put a hot dog, Max, in an oven and just turn it on and watch it, what it does the same thing to your capillaries on the inside of your brain. And they caused him to have a stroke. And he spent 5 weeks in the hospital. And their dog, I think it was a German Shepherd dog, that dog went blind, and it had to be euthanized because it had brain damage. And so they were trying to shut him up before this book, came out into public about what really happened. And so this is a real life example. He just called me yesterday and wanted to talk, but I've been moving around a lot. I haven't been at my place much. But anyway, these are the kind of things they do. The shadow government, the deep state, CIA, NSA, DIA, this is how they shut up whistleblowers. This is how they electronically harass targeted individuals, people who have been targeted for their political beliefs or their knowledge about, top secret operations somewhere or so forth. And they want to shut them up or pressure them into, being quiet. So there's a massive censorship program going on right now. Y'all are all probably aware of all the YouTube and Google censoring, Facebook censoring the AI internal algorithms, doctoring the view numbers and deleting channels and completely scrubbing all their content off the internet and so forth. So underneath all that is these microwave attacks, targeted stuff. We've been getting calls, dozens and dozens of people from around the country that have been attacked, electronically harassed with sound waves and various things. One girl was fighting a case down in Plano, Texas. She was fighting the federal courts IRS deal. And the microwave, she saw the guy out in the bushes through her window late at night and thought he was like a burglar. But she had a hip replacement, and the hip started hurting. Her jaw started hurting. She got disoriented, confused, dizzy, all the standard symptoms. And then both her dogs, they went around in circles in the house, and they peed themselves and started barking crazy, with the whites of their eyes showing and so forth. And she called and wanted some help. But there's massive attacks with this stuff going on right now in our country, and it's the deep state.
And what we need to do is all the military guys are listening to this show, and friends of us personally and Cody's, that we need to do something, and very quickly, before it gets too much out of our hands, and then we're not going to be able to control it. We need to go out and find out who's doing this personally, and do something about it. Just don't get caught. All right?
Yeah, and I want to say, Max, if we had a woman up in Minnesota that called, and she had been talking about some high-level political figures here in our country on air, and the very next day they hit her with a microwave attack, and her face and neck and legs all turned bright red. And she went into a doctor the next day, and she didn't tell them. She just said, "What do you think this is?" And one of the physical therapists looked at it and said, "This looks like a microwave burn to me." And they didn't even know anything about it. But they had a van outside of her house. Now, this is a warning to people. If you suspect you're being attacked with this stuff, these are directed energy weapons. There's no sound. There's no evidence. That's why they're using them. If you walk up to someone's house and shoot them with a gun, you know, there's a bullet hole, there's a loud noise, so forth. Let's use a silencer. But that's why the deep state's chosen these weapons. They can hit people, and there's no residual, there's no fingerprints, no one can hear it, see it, feel it. None of the neighbors know what's going on, and it's perfect for black ops. But if they have a van, they can put bigger equipment inside these vans, and they can park them on your street and direct the dish on top or through a window on the side of the van, right at your bedroom window or your kitchen window, and they leave the van running. Because just like police cars, Max, you know, they have those big alternators to run all the lights and all the electronics. And so if the motor's running and you see a van parked out somewhere, be really careful, because this type of equipment has enough energy and enough amplitude to actually kill. It can cause a burst aneurysm in your brain, a cerebral hematoma, and when the coroner examines a person's body and does a standard forensic autopsy, it will look just like a stroke happened. And that's what they write down, because there's no proof. There's no way to prove it. That's why they use this stuff. And they can also target the nerves that come down out of the medulla oblongata of your brain, which fires your heart. This is anatomic nerve function. And that every time your heart beats, there's a signal sent from your brain. It goes into the ganglia in your thoracic vertebrae. It comes out to your heart and fires the heart and makes it pump. And they have found the frequencies for these machines to disrupt that and change those signals so that your heart will beat 300 times a minute and go into fibrillation. And so later on, you know, when they do the autopsy, they say, well, their heart fibrillated and they died. They had a heart attack. And so this stuff is very, very dangerous. It's very real. God knows how many people they've actually killed with this stuff.
Okay, let me ask you this, Cody, for a moment. Okay, now when they send the signal out into somebody's home or wherever, are they using the internet to do that?
No, that's a whole separate thing, which we'll talk about in a minute. But what this is line of sight weapons. In other words, Max, you know, if someone's out in the field and you point a gun at them and you shoot that gun, you have to have line of sight to that target. If there's trees or concrete walls or something in the way, you know, the bullet can't do it. Same thing with these microwaves. They have to be line of sight. You have to, that buddy of mine that was writing the book about Abu Ghraib, he was sitting at his window, by the window at night, late at night, reading a book. And they snuck up in the bushes and they point these little dishes, they're handheld dishes, and they point them right at you. And if there's anything in the way, you know, like tree branches or anything else, the signal is disrupted. But they get clear line of sight. Now, the internet, they can send a variety of other signals through the internet. One person we knew had a set of headphones on, and they sent a high-pitched ultra high frequency, almost like a dog whistle when you blow the whistle and the dogs hear it, but the people don't. But this was in the audible range and then up in the higher ranges, and it actually burst their eardrums. So they can do a sound attack through the internet. But that's separate and different from the microwave attacks.
Okay, these little satellites, they put those on top of the fans. Is that what you're saying?
They can, or what they usually do if they want to be covert is they'll have a van, you know, it doesn't have any windows except for maybe one little bubble window or something in the back, or they can shoot it out the back window, and that way you can't see the antenna. But some of them just have antennas on top of them with a bunch of regular CB antennas and different antennas, and then they'll say, you know, Ace Telecom Company or whatever it is, with a bunch of ladders and tools, and it looks to the civilians in the area like it's just a work van, you know, some kind of electronic telecom van. So, but when they're really being sneaky, all those antennas are hidden inside through the glass.
Okay, I want to ask you, anybody that sees a van out there in front and on their streets that looks like the way Cody just explained, do something about it. You know, you don't have to hurt anybody there. Just put a pin through the coaxial. That's how we used to knock out CB radios back in the old days. Another thing, just if they're running their vehicle, just stick a giant potato down their tailpipe, and that'll make the car stop. It won't be able to breathe, and it'll conk out. If you see somebody in your yard, you know, put some no trespassing signs in front of your house. You know, if they cross it, then you can do something about it. You know. And the other thing, there was a question here that these devices can cause mind control.
Absolutely. Mind control, you know, Max, the objective of it is to condition a subject's mind in such a way that they end up acting without consciously thinking.
Yeah.
There's a variety of ways to induce mind controls. The CIA had a project called Holy See. It was field tested over in the Vatican, in Rome. And what they created was what they call a synthetic telepathy device. I write about this in our most recent book, which is Choosing the Light, Dark Secrets of the Oklahoma City Bombing. People can get that on the lightonconspiracies.com/Cody website. And we talk about Operation Holy See. And what they did, Max, was they took what they call a synthetic telepathy device. And they tested audio signals. They learned what frequencies would send signals down the auditory nerve that comes out of your inner ear. And they could modulate electromagnetic frequencies around this nerve and actually produce sounds that your brain would pick up. It makes the nerve fire on, separately from when your ear sends the signal. And so that was the early stages of it. And then later on in Holy See, they created a synthetic telepathy device that used modulated microwaves around the 840 megahertz range of natural human resonance frequency. And it was produced at E-Systems down in El Paso, Texas, under covert contract. And the microwaves were coupled with digital microprocessors. And this was a suitcase type device, and it had a handheld dish like the ones we've talked about before. And what they did was to field test its operational effectiveness. It was a way to place thoughts in people's minds, okay, from a distance. Synthetic telepathy, okay, and it's in the field of psychotronics, which is psychological manipulation by electronic means. And what they did was they had some agents, CIA agents, infiltrate the Vatican over in Rome. And they dressed up as priests, and they were priests. And one agent would pick a target, and they would point this synthetic telepathy device at people while they were sleeping. And they would repeat the same phrases over and over. And then the next morning, they'd have other agents basically debrief the guy and say, hey, did you have a dream last night? And they go, yeah, we had some weird dreams, and I heard voices from God and so forth. And they'd ask them, well, what did you hear? What did you see? Then this was a field test, and they could tweak the parameters and update the equipment and change it to make it more effective at transmitting thoughts over a distance. And the reason they picked the Vatican for this was it's very common for priests and people in the clergy to have visions from God and visions from the archangels and channelings and so forth. And so if there was any blowback from this field test of this undercover mind control technology, they could just lay it off on, you know, visions from God and so forth. And this really did happen. This was Operation Holy See. And some of it has been declassified. People can Google it up, but most of it is still classified. But to answer the question, that's just one example of how they've taken this technology, okay, and they have used it for mind control. You know, like I said earlier, the MK Ultra project and the Monarch programming techniques, there was 149 separate sub-projects inside of that. One of them in the MK Ultra thing was sub-project 136. This was in 1961, and it was ESP research, experimental analysis of extrasensory perception to evaluate the possibility of using ESP in the intelligence field. And they had the contractors and the location where they tested this has been redacted. It's still classified. And the cover cutouts was the Society for Investigation of Human Ecology. Okay, they have. I mean, I could go through so many of these. They tested mind control in every way that could be tested, with electronics, with microwaves, with sound waves, with electroshock, with LSD, with trauma-based mind control, on and on and on and on. So the answer is yes, definitely. This technology, this electromagnetic technology, can be used for mind control.
Okay, I got to add something here, Cody. I'm seeing some shadows out my window here. I told my roommate to lock the doors, and I do have my handgun right next to me here. I do believe that I feel something going on outside. I'm not afraid of anything. I just hope they come through the door, because they're going to find a big surprise. I've got my 9mm right here, right next to me. And here, I'll show it on the screen that I do have it. It is right here. So I'm showing you that I have my gun right here, folks. So when you get this, but whoever tries to come in this house, they're going to get a big surprise. I just hope they come in through the front door. I wouldn't mind taking a few out, and it'll make me sleep a lot better tonight. But anyway, I got cameras outside, so don't try to make it here. You're going to get hurt. You're not talking to a peon from the U.S. Army. You're talking to a person that's actually was a Green Beret. So, you know, I'm anxious to take a pop shot again. And I'm not afraid to do it. What do you think, Cody?
Well, everyone, as a citizen in the United States, we have the right to protect ourselves. Mm-hmm. And like I said, when I was first coming out with this book about the Oklahoma City bombing and all the stuff we were doing and talking about CIA mind control and all the things we were doing interviews around the world, I did have bodyguards, and we had snipers out around my house with night vision equipment. And we had radios and all the stuff. And I told them, if somebody sneaks up here with a microwave weapon of any kind, that's an attack, and your orders are to capture them first. And we're going to torture them and put it on videotape. We have cameras, and we're going to make them tell us who they're working for. You know, if it's the CIA or the NSA or whoever it is. And if you know, they can't be captured or whatever, we're going to kill them. And I've said that over the airwaves many times, because this is a war, Max. This is a war for our freedom in the United States of America. Our government has been secretly usurped and taken over by a shadowy deep state. And they use microwave weapons, harassment, sound waves, you name it. They use all kinds of things. They'll plant people with evidence and throw them in prison, and they're violating the Constitution. This is extrajudicial, unconstitutional activity. And if the courts are so corrupt in our country, Max, that they allow this stuff, then it's up to we the people. We have the right to protect ourselves from this type of electronic covert harassment and mind control. And we have to make people aware of it. First, a lot of people think this stuff is you know, juju talk and silly, crazy talk and conspiracy talk, but it is not. It's absolutely real. And the CIA was studying this stuff way back in the 50s and the 60s during the arms race with the Soviet Union, because the Russians are masters at this type of mind control, electronic harassment, directed microwave weapons, and so forth. And this stuff is all absolutely real. And they have turned it on the good people here in the United States. And it is illegal.
Yeah. We're not going to take, I don't want to take any break tonight, because we're covering a lot of stuff that's important to the public. And this is a red alert that, you know, you need to be aware of what's going on. And if somebody violates your privacy, especially to the government, the deep state, you're entitled to defend yourself, just like Cody just said. Okay? But you got to do it very smartly. So if you see one of these vans approaching in your neighborhood, keep an eye, you know, or just make a walk or get in your car and do a around your neighborhood, take a look. If something is suspicious, then you start up a little group in your neighborhood, so everybody can keep an eye on anything suspicious driving into your neighborhood, and then you can probably do something about it, but do it discreet. And put a mask over your head if you have to, so nobody can recognize who you are as a group, and then do something about it. We're going to need to stop this some way or another. If we keep letting it go and let it go, they're going to have more ground on us, and then they're going to do whatever they want to do with us. So we're going to take the law into ourselves, okay? Very discreet. If somebody tries to do something to one of our neighbors or to harm our own family, that is being a patriot. That is supporting the republic. So we need to do this. I'm doing it right now. I have my 9mm right here, right in front of myself. I got a camera outside. It's already out there. It's recording everything. So I did see some shadows out there, like a bunch of people crossing in front of my yard here. Not my yard because I'm fenced in, but on the other side of the fence. And I felt something not right outside, because I can feel and I can remote view things. But something's outside. It's not right outside my house. And you know what? Just if you got enough cojones, just cross my front yard and get in front of my window, and I swear to God, you're going to get something in return. So don't try me. Don't force me. Don't try to do anything no more, because I will do something about it. I'm not going to think about it. I'm going to do it. So what do you think about that, Cody?
Well, I think that's great, because I live the same way. I mean, every person has the right to protect their family, their property, their life, and their liberty. And if our government has gotten so corrupt that they've abandoned our Constitution and the law of the land, and these intelligence agencies are sneaking around doing all of this underhanded electronic harassment and so forth, we have every right to stand up to them. One of the CIA agents I know, he emailed me here recently. They snuck in his house. They waited till him and his wife were gone. He was blowing the whistle on some of the dirty stuff that the agency had done. And, not everyone, Max, as you well know, not everyone in the CIA is bad. I mean, there's some really good people in there, but there are some black elements, some dark satanic elements in there. They're very evil. And they use their cover, their positions, to conduct all these ugly things. But they snuck in his house. They waited till his family was gone, and they used a clear paint, and they painted patterns over the kitchen and the bedroom and so forth. And in this clear liquid was a bunch of viruses and molds and so forth. And so you couldn't see it unless you had ultraviolet light. When you walked in the room, it looked like just normal stuff. But under ultraviolet or black light, you could see these patterns. And then these molds and spores and stuff would fall down and made their family sick. And this is the kind of stuff these people do. They're trying to stop truth. They're trying to dumb down the American people. They're censoring websites like crazy. Now, I heard Alex Jones down in Austin, his website, 2.8 million subscribers on YouTube. They took down his whole channel on YouTube, and then they censored his website and took it down. And so this has been happening to a lot of people in the Patriot movement, the Christians here in our country, and conservatives. They've been hacking their websites, shutting down their PayPals, trying to hurt them with money. There's a big covert thing going on, and this stuff is extrajudicial. It's unconstitutional. It's against the law. So if the government won't prosecute these people, then we have no choice but to take the law in our own hands in these circumstances. But you have to be very careful. There, some people in a white van sitting there in your street may be some dope dealers doing something, or it may be some kids out, screwing in the back seat or something. But you have to be careful and judicious and very aware, because vigilance is required if we're going to maintain the freedom of our republic.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. My producer here has suggested that if you're going to do like go around your neighborhood in your vehicle, if you see any suspicious van that has parabolics or many mounts of antennas on the roof, then there's one right there. And if you go up to the van and you knock on the van, you see somebody in there, you knock on the van, make sure you got a couple people with you on both sides of the van and in the rear door, but not directly facing the rear door. Just move it to the side in case, they take a pop out the back. I don't think they will do that. So I believe they wouldn't do that, but just stand off the site where they can actually shoot to. Knock on the window and say, "What are you doing here?" And they say, "Well, we're so-and-so." Where they said, "No, you don't belong here. You need to leave now. We're calling the police." And
and that's what we've seen, Max. Like I said, I've been getting dozens and dozens just in the last 2 weeks. I've been getting calls all around the country: Florida, Minnesota, California, Washington, Texas, all over, of these targeted individuals. And they've been targeted for various reasons. And a lot of times they say they do call the police. But the local police themselves, they've been dumbed down like most American civilians. They're not aware of this stuff. And so when you tell it to them, they're hitting me with microwaves. Look, my skin's red, my teeth hurt. They think you're some tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist. And a lot of times the reports I'm getting from people is that the local police just don't do nothing. If they even show up, they just make a little report and leave. But a lot of times these guys that are doing these attacks, they have comms and they have a support team, and they scan all the frequencies of the police channels and everything else. And so when a civilian who is under attack calls their local police and says, "Well, I'm under attack," well, then it goes out over the scanner. When the dispatcher calls a unit in the area and sends a car, a police officer out to the area, they've already been warned, and they're gone by the time they get there. And so that makes, to the police, that makes it look like the person who called in these kind of attacks makes them look like they're crazy, because there's no evidence. See, that's the trick to it, Max. There's no evidence. You can't see them, can't hear them, you can't smell them, you can't taste them. Microwaves cannot be seen. It's just like going to the dentist and you sit there with your x-rays on your mouth and they take an x-ray. You can't feel it. You can't see it. You can't hear it. You can't taste it, but it's real and it's affecting your body. And so you have to be real careful about calling the cops, because a lot of times by the time they get there, these people are already gone.
Exactly. I would take your smartphone with you and take a video of the van with the license plate in the back.
Exactly.
Yeah, and take a video of it and just tell the people, what are you doing here? And if they don't comply, and they'll always have an answer for what they're going to be asked, because they practice what to say.
I'd like to make a comment, if I could.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, Max, I'm a ham operator, and I do some different things in parks and stuff like that. And I've had people come up to me and ask me what I was doing, because I do some very strange antennas and that sort of thing. And usually I'll tell them exactly what I'm doing, and it's no problem. I show them my license and all this stuff, and tell them how to be a ham operator and what's involved in it. Because there are some people that go to parks, or you'll find them on top of a mountain or whatever, that are just practicing the art of radio communication. And usually those are antennas that are larger and that sort of thing. It's the very small parabolic antennas that are the ones that are dangerous. So especially parabolics, because they have the ability to focus at being very precise. So just a heads up before you pick on the poor ham operator. He'll be proud to show you his license, and he'll probably try to sign you up to be a ham operator. So if he doesn't try to sign you up as a ham operator, hey, turn him in.
Well, let me ask you, Russ. Russ, is there a way to block that parabolic?
Just like Cody was saying, is you can either run an inverse wave out of 180 degree frequency pulse back at it to cancel it out. Well, it's out of phase, totally 180 degrees out of phase, and that'll neutralize it to nothing. It's just like the same way the Bose headphones work when you put them on for noise canceling. Mm-hmm. It's the same principle. Okay, that's one way. Another way you can either disrupt it by causing a certain harmony to it to neutralize the effect. That's another way to do it. So, and attack always works great, like you were saying, just to get to the source, or anything like maybe a Faraday cage that'll stop a lot of that stuff. But that's extreme situations, or ways to maybe reflect the wave. There's where it's a shiny surface or something like that, or there's ways to do it that way too. So I mean, I don't know all the answers, but there's I know there's several things that you can do.
Okay, thank you, Russ. What else, Cody, was going? Anything besides that that you can come up with? What should the neighbors, like the people that are listening to the show? I know sometime or another we're going to have to take our hands into consideration that somebody's trying to attack us, and that's like a terrorism attack against the citizens of the United States. That we need to do something about it, and we can do something about it by having neighborhood watch around and don't go on foot, go in your car where it's safe. And when you see one of these vans, take a video of it with your smartphone and video their license plate and the whole side of the truck, the back and the side of the truck. And then you'll have proof that somebody was there unexpectedly. And then y'all check the company in the morning, or if there's a 24/7 you can contact them. Do you have a truck in the area? There's one out here. What is it doing here at the middle of the night or at this time? And call the company. So we don't have anything out there. And then when you got the answer to that, well, then call the authorities and tell them, listen, there's a very suspicious van out here at certain address in the street. We need to check out see what's going on there.
Right.
You don't have to tell the cops, what it is. So a very suspicious van has been sitting here for a long period of time. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if we're being staked out for a robbery or what, but, just go along with that. I would do it. Go ahead, Cody.
Yeah, another thing, you can use the decoy deal where leave all your lights on, leave the house, and then exit. We're all trained, military black ops guys.
Yes.
The guys I know, they all have boogie bags ready, and they're ready to leave their house at a moment's notice. Most civilians are not, they're not comfortable with stuff like that. But if you're going to die or you're going to be damaged or have a stroke, like my doctor friend did, and be in the hospital 5 weeks, maybe it would be good to be prepared and have a little bag ready if you are expecting some kind of attack. Let's say you're speaking truth to power, you're exposing CIA or you're exposing IRS or corporate corruption or corruption in your local government with your mayors or chief of police dealing drugs or whatever the corruption is, and you're expecting some kind of blowback from it, then keep you a boogie bag ready and then go. If you are under these microwave attacks, one of the best ways to do is leave, change your location. If you go down, if there's a low creek bed or something behind your house, or you can get around by the neighbor's house, they have to have line of sight. So if you disrupt that line of sight, then you're home free. And then you can circle back around and check out, what's going on. So I will say this, I know we're on open air and everything, but I will say, I have to watch what I say, but all I can tell you is these people have not been able to get away with everything they wanted to get away with. There's been times when they didn't win, and that's all I can tell you.
Yeah. I just saw.
What they count on, most of all, is the ignorance of the civilian population they're targeting. These directed energy weapons, they were used in Iraq and Desert Storm 1. They've been used at the Soviet embassy, the U.S. embassy in Moscow. They've been used in Europe. They've been used here on the streets of America. But the one thing they count on is for us to be ignorant about them. And it's time, that's what we're trying to do. Me and my partner, Ole Damagard at Light on Conspiracies, we're trying to wake people up to the fact that there are covert elements within each intelligence agency, whether it's MI6 in England, the Mossad over in Israel, or the agency CIA here in the U.S., and they're using these types of high-tech directed energy microwave warfare weapons. And they're, in some cases, field testing them, Max. They just go in, they'll pick a guy that's, a pro-gun or NRA guy or some Christian guy, and they'll just pick him out and target him and test the stuff and do a field test how it works. And it's insidious by its design, but they did the same thing in the MK Ultra programs. They picked innocent people and they targeted them, and they did their black ops on them. And so what we're trying to do is just wake people up. The fact that these things are real, they're being used right now here in America, and it's illegal. It's extrajudicial. And unless we know about it and stand up against it, they're just going to keep doing it. They won't stop.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to open people's eyes a little bit and show them a few things. And you know, I know some of these words are kind of technical and big for non-science people, but the actual science behind all this is very, very refined. And they spend a lot of money and a lot of Pentagon money, a lot of Black Ops money in testing and building and using these type of directed energy weapons. And the fires in California, some of them certainly were set by these type of devices.
Absolutely. You know, there's still a lot of movement outside. I keep seeing shadows behind my maple tree over here. I got a big mercury light in the front of the house that lights up half of the street, but the tree has gone a lot, and I think I might have it shaved down a little bit very soon. But there's definitely something going on outside my house, and I'm not worried about myself because I know how to handle myself, and I'm getting telepathic communication since you were just finished talking, Cody, and the telepathic communication is saying that if I don't stop this signal going on right now on the radio with you, that they're going to do something to me. So I said,
because last night me and my girlfriend both got hit with attacks. That's why I'm not at my house now, and I've been moving around a lot. They've targeted many people. They're trying to shut down the truth, and they try to fragment our consciousness with fear. But, you know, warriors like us have already been through the fear thing. And I died twice in the hospital in the middle of Operation Slammer, Project Slammer, and actually died. So my fear of death is a little bit different than most people's. But they count on that fear, and they count on fragmenting our consciousness and keeping us in a lower state so we're easier to control. And that's their whole game. And, you know, it's time we stopped that. And it's time we stood up to them. I've said it open air, you know, if I catch anyone doing a microwave attack on me, we're going to capture them, and we're going to torture them, and we're going to put it on videotape, and we're going to find out who they work for. And then if we can't capture them, we're going to kill them. Period.
exactly.
You know, I'm not putting up with it. If someone attacks me or my family, I have the right to defend myself. Now, people think, well, if you use a gun and some guy breaks in your house and shoots at you, okay, that's an attack. But these directed energy weapons that can't be seen, smelt, felt, heard, they're another level of attack. It's a higher order of attack, but it's still an attack. And so that's my philosophy. And a lot of the guys I know that are aware of this, a lot of them are ex-military guys and ex-agents and so forth, and they won't tolerate it either. They exercise their Second Amendment rights. And we have those rights, and we should all exercise them in the face of great evil. We have the rights to protect our life, our liberty, and our pursuit of happiness. And so I live that way, and I know you do.
Yeah.
I've talked to some other people that were microwave attacked, that one person who, you know, got red skin and red legs and was real sick. She told me, well, I don't have a gun, Cody. And I said, well, you might consider getting one or protecting yourself in some way, because these people like to target people who are easy targets. I'm not an easy target. You're not an easy target.
No, I ain't.
Click on people where they don't have any blowback. And so, you know, each person can choose their own path in life. I know what mine is, and I'm not going to tolerate it. Period.
Yeah. Up here in the county where I live, there's at least 7 ex-special forces guys And I know of 3 of them. The other 3 don't want to be known who they are, but I know who they are. I know where they live too. So if we needed to come together and to do something, we'd do it. By the way, to the people that are following my health, I'm able to walk a lot better now. And I have been doing a lot of exercise every day. My health has dropped down more than 50% down, so I'm getting back in shape. I'm doing all kinds of exercise and all that, and riding on my bicycle. It's stationary here in my house, and I'm getting ready. As soon as I can walk with no problems, not holding on to hold on to a walker or a cane, hand cane. I'm going to start doing something about it. I'm going to activate myself back to the way I used to be. I didn't want to activate myself, but I tell you what, I was when I used to be in the special forces and the job that I did as a sniper, I was really good at it. And I had a nickname. I know you have one. They called me the Crazy Cuban when I was in there. So because I'm Cuban American, but I did a lot of things for my country. This is my country, the United States, and I will protect and serve again all over again. But I won't listen to these deep state bullies, because those are the ones I want to take out first. So it won't be long before I get out there.
Well,
I just hope people, Cody, I just listen for a moment, Cody. I want people to forget me because I'm a man of peace and love. I really do. But I'm tired of the innocent people getting hit, especially you and me. We're getting hit all the time. And the telepathy I got a little while ago, before, when you start talking, they say if I didn't get off the air, says, you know what? I sent them one back. I sent them a telepathic back to stick it up to where the sun don't shine. And if you got any nerve, come over here and make me. I'll let them have it. I swear to God, I would. Because I know the sheriff here in town, they're friends of mine, and the deputies and the police, we're all friends. Even the state police know me. They know if they ever got into trouble, they call me and I'll tell them what to do. Even though they're not in the military, but they're actually law enforcement officer. And a lot of the law enforcement officers ain't gonna take any of this deep state that they're trying to do. They have been given all kinds of military vehicles, and it says, well, I'm glad we got it for free. Now we can use it against them if we had to. So they're ready. They know something's up, but we got to do something. We all got to. If they see they sending these signal to our homes, like Cody said, we can't hear it, we can't see it, we can't smell it. You don't know which direction it's coming from. But I'm working on a secret weapon, folks, and I'll let it loose very soon, because I am going to be working on something that's going to scramble their signals. So when they turn it on, you turn yours on, it's not going to get through. What do you think, Cody?
I think that's a good idea. I think that the highest level here, this is a spiritual war between the forces of darkness and the forces of light. And if we can all ramp our situational awareness up just a little bit as Americans and not be so complacent and so lazy. But they want us dumbed down, and they want us complacent and lazy because it's easier for them to secretly, take our country away from us. And they've been doing it very slowly with the process of gradualism. So it's time to wake up. It's time to wake up. And it's time to get your own spiritual house in order, whatever that is, and get ready. Because these attacks are increasing. The calls I get from around the country are increasing. The censorship on the internet is increasing. So it all points to the fact that something is going to happen. Something major, or else they wouldn't be doing all this stuff. And so we are just trying to make people aware of this electronic type stuff, the subliminals, the mind control, and how they're using this newer technology covertly and secretly. And if they ever get the 5G grid put in America, I'm leaving. I won't be here in this country because I can't deal with that. I hope that they stop it, and I hope that we can stop some of this deep state shadow government stuff. It's been running out of control. It's out of control.
It is.
They have no reins. They have no oversight. They're running wild. They're killing whoever they want. They're hitting whoever they want. They're using this high-tech stuff. They're spraying the skies with God knows what in the geoengineering and chemtrails. They're starting directed energy weapons fires. There's direct evidence of that. It's here. It's here right now.
Yeah.
So where's the military in providing protection for us? You know, domestic, not out anywhere else where they're not protecting me when they're in, you know, Timbuktu.
Right. Well, you know, the U.S. military has basically been taken over as an arm of, you know, the New World Order and the elite. An example is the 15 years we spent in Afghanistan. The main reason they're there is, of course, for the opium. And last summer we had the largest opium crop ever in history in the world. And the deep state shadow government apparatus needs black ops money, and also the molybdenum and the lithium and the other rare earth elements that have been found in the mountains around there. Lithium goes into all the batteries, you know, for cell phones and chainsaws and, you know, computers and all kinds of things. And then also out in the Caspian Sea, there's $12 trillion worth of proven reserves of natural gas and oil there. The brightest oil corporation out of Argentina first found all that. But they want to, and it's also a regional place for, you know, to watch China and Russia. So that's one reason they've been there. But the military is there at the behest of the corporations and the New World Order elite. They could care less mostly about the American civilians. Here, there's a lot of veterans that I've talked to that are almost ashamed of some of the things they did overseas, and they felt like they were being used, you know, for a higher purpose. And that purpose was not to protect, you know, the U.S. Population. It was to further U.S. interests, which equates to corporate interests and banker interests and so forth. But this shadow government thing has big tentacles that goes all around the world. It's in banking, arms sales, drugs, pharmaceuticals, and so forth. And it secretly and quietly controls many of the governments of the world, just like the U.S. government. And so their militaries have been used in ways that are not necessarily supportive of the civilian populations, you know, that they came from. I mean, we could talk about all that for a long time, but yeah, you're right. They're not helping you.
They're stealing resources from the other countries and saying that, you know, that they're terrorists against us. No, the terrorists are in Washington, D.C. and all around here. That's where the terrorists are.
Right. And they're the same ones, you know, that want to take the guns away from the American people.
Right. Yeah.
So once they get the guns away from the American people, then you think the tyranny and these electronic attacks and microwave attacks and all this shadow government stuff, you think it's bad now. Wait till they take all the guns away from people, because that's their end result. And the New Order people, they want America to be knocked down and fit in their plan so they could dominate the whole planet.
Right.
Go through a very clever process of gradualism where they stage false flag events like Sandy Hook and the Parkland school shootings and the Oklahoma City bombing and 9/11 and so forth to fragment the population with fear in the problem, reaction, solution scenario. And their solution is always more government, more control, and try to get the guns away. And we have to be vigilant about all this. But if they ever turn the U.S. military on the civilians here in this population in a Civil War scenario, they would rather do it when the people didn't have guns.
Yeah, if I were in their position, yeah, I wouldn't want somebody shooting back at me. But there's too many people that are not frogs in the pot. You know, the water's gotten too hot for us, and we understand what they're doing to us and doing to the people that are still in the pot.
Right.
Cody, can you give out your website?
Yeah. What we're using, I had a website here in the U.S. called CodySnodgres.com, but it was hacked real bad. It was completely shut down. And then we did a bunch of interviews around, and we left it as is, as an example of how the deep state targets people who are trying to get the truth out. And then after a couple of months, they popped it back up. And I called the people who set it up, and they said we didn't touch it. So they shut it down, left it down for a while, and we used it as an example. They didn't like it, so they put it back up all on their own. The deep state did all of it. So we don't send people to that website here in America anymore because we think the files have been corrupted in it. But the website we are using now is lightonconspiracies.com. That's Ole Damagard's website. And if anyone wants to get this book, there's a section on mind control and directed energy weapons, and I think it's chapter 10 of this book. They can get that at lightonconspiracies.com/Cody.
Okay. I'm going to be doing very soon a recording with, can't do it because he's in Europe, and that's the name you just mentioned, Ollie. So I'm going to be doing a video recording of, I'm going to need your help, Russ, if you can help me with it. I want to do it this Saturday and go and communicate with him. And I'll give you the time, but where he can do it because he lives in Europe. I think it's what, 5 or 6 hours different where he's at. I don't want to give him the exact time and exactly what it is, but yeah, I'll call you, Russ.
Yeah, Ole will contact me probably, and we have ways to get around. They've been blocking my international emails, and so we've got a ways to get around all that. But yeah, so he and I have done several shows around the world on different things. But yeah, we'd be happy to do that. And Ole's a great guy. He's done 30 years worth of research. He's got a great newsletter that comes out every month. And when people get that newsletter, they also get access to his, what he calls 30 years worth of files and all kinds of data. It's a treasure trove of information for people who want to find the truth about some of these false flags. You got pictures, dates, times, files, all kinds of evidence. It's a really good deal.
Yeah, I'm glad. Let me say my next week guest is going to be Dane Wigington. He's a geoengineering person. He'll be on the show next week. I'll have on the 29th, I was going to do a disclosure, but I can't. I need more. I have more. Got to get the information together. It would take me longer. I did release some things last night on Facebook, some actual information. Some of it was declassified and some was still classified. So I did release that on Facebook last night. I don't know if they were able to see it, but I did release that. The other thing is that, we're going to have to do something for ourselves to protect our family and our neighbors. We all need to get together and be a part of it. See, I had earlier my co-host Jennifer Martin was one of my new co-hosts. She couldn't. She was able, and somehow she got removed, but then they blocked her completely. And another thing, my wife was here a little while ago. Her internet been dealt with for 3 days. I finally got to see her a little while ago, and she was here for a little bit, and then she got knocked off again. So there's things beyond around us being done things against us, but because they don't know that we are going to turn against them. They don't think we can still do it, but they got a thing coming, because I'm going to do it, and I'm going to try to where I want to go. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I know exactly what you're saying, and I want to make a quote. You know, I'm a physics major in college, and I got degrees in math and physics and stuff. But this quote is from Albert Einstein, and he said, "The world will not be destroyed by those who do evil, but by those who watch them without doing anything."
Okay, I see that. I see some of my like Little Pony got kicked out a little while ago when they can't kick them out of Zoom room here because of where we're at. But there is a software you can use. It's called Glasswire, and you can see when somebody is coming in to hurt you. You can actually see their IP address and put a firewall there, and I'll knock them off. So I should have turned it on a little while ago, but I didn't. I thought we were fine, but I guess we weren't.
So little Pony got knocked out?
Yeah, but she's back.
I got knocked off twice.
Yeah, they know her IP address, and so they knock her off. So, but anyway, she's here back again. So
good.
Little Pony, pretty soon me and you are going to have to do something about the way we used to work together really good. So we're going to need to start doing this all over again, and start removing some of the deep state that needs to be knocked off completely for real, and we can both do it. Okay. Windscribe gives one free proxy. Okay. You want to say, hold on a second, Cody. You go ahead and explain this. Come on in. Unmute yourself and say what you're going to say. Go ahead, you. There you go. Go ahead and tell us what you just found out. Can you hear me? Unmute yourself. You're already unmuted. Go ahead and speak.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, I've got a program called Windscribe, which is a program that lets you hide your IP address so that you can access it through a proxy server. A proxy server is something that so you can connect to another server, and then you connect through that to the internet so that they don't know you're accessing it from your server or your IP address.
Okay, do me a favor. Put it in the Wolf Spirit Radio chat room there, and give us all the information. Put it out here in our chat room here or in Zoom. Put it in there so we can. And then, what is it called completely?
It's called Windscribe.
Windscribe.com?
Yeah, WINDSCRIBE.com. Oh, it's the name of the program.
But it's called, it's windscribe.com, correct? Yes or no?
Yeah, yeah, we can check it on Google. Okay,
go ahead. Folks, go ahead and do that for me, you. find out exactly the website, and once you put it in the Wolf Spirit chat room, and then when you got it, then put it here in the chat room, and we'll make sure that Cody has it too. Okay, for extra protection. All right, go ahead, Cody.
Oh yeah, I appreciate you guys setting that stuff up, and I tell you what, we're all under such heavy harassment and attack. The people who have been trying to get the truth out and trying to expose stuff like the California fires and the directed energy weapons and all of this mind control stuff and the microwaves and everything. And like Ole Damagard, my partner, says, we're hoping that one day we'll reach a precipice. And through shows like yours, Max, and other shows like John B. Wells or our friends at Hagman and Hagman in different places, that enough people will begin to wake up. And like Dane Wigington, your guest next week, he's a great researcher. He's got so much data, and he's done a lot to wake people up. So that's why we're being censored, all of us, so hard and hit so hard. And it's time now to wake up and wake your friends up. And if one person wakes up and then talks to another, that's what we need to do, is have a chain of truth and a chain of light to help revive the soul of this nation. This nation has descended into a darkness, and there's a shadow government, and there's corporate control. There's a lot of evil, Monsanto, and the evil things that are going on in our food supply and our water supply and our air. And the more of us that can wake up, hopefully we can affect a change. And we're hoping that any day there'll be a critical mass shift, because we can't do all this alone. It's going to take a lot of people to make a lot of political pressure and other pressure to make these people stop. And they've usurped the power in this country. And I believe when John Kennedy was assassinated in, November 22nd of 1963, I think that was like a coup d'etat. I personally believe that the CIA was involved in that, and they actually took our president away from us. I was in Dallas when that happened. I was just a young kid, but I think that since then, they had a whole spate of assassinations with his brother Robert and Martin Luther King, and they used those political assassinations as a way to slowly take power away from the people and give it to the deep state. And then through all these false flags like 9/11 and Oklahoma City and all the school shooting, a rash of school shootings, they're just slowly, gradually trying to scare us and create chaos and terror in our country, and get us to voluntarily give our guns away, in the name of protection. I think this is a plan. I think that it has been going on for decades, and it's time now for us to rise up and stop it. Because if we don't, I think that we are going to lose the great light and the great freedom of America forever.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let that happen on my watch. That's why we've been just doing everything we can to get some of this higher truth out. And I want to thank you, Max, for your show here, and taking the time and helping get some of this out, because the more of us that awaken, the harder it's going to be for them to take America away and shove it into their new world order.
Yeah. Shovel where the sun don't shine.
That's exactly right, sir.
Yeah.
Well, I'm with you with that, Cody.
Right on.
We are going to, we got 10 minutes in the show. We're going to, hold on, so let me clear my throat up real quick. Okay. We are going to start the largest army on this planet. We are the Republic. We are the true Americans. We are doing this for our protection of our families and neighbors and friends, that we're going to create the largest army and take down the deep state. We're going to need to do that now. So get your friends in your neighborhoods. Okay, everybody, you know, there are so many guns in this United States, more than there is anywhere else put together. There's a lot of us here that have more than 5 weapons. We all have plenty of ammo. If you dare to come up to these mountains where I live, you're gonna find a big surprise, because we ain't gonna sit down and wait you to tear us apart. We're gonna tear you apart before you even put one foot in this county, because everybody in this county are ready to do whatever needs to be done to deal with. So we are going to raise the largest army in this planet, not in the United States only, but everywhere else. And we're going to take out the deep state, and we are going to take out the leaders of the deep state, and we are going to take out the leaders of the satanic groups, because they're the ones behind this. And we're going to take care of all these people. We need to do it now, folks. We can't wait till tomorrow and think about it tomorrow. We need to start right now. Right now, here is Eastern time where I'm at, where it's dark. We got nighttime now. But where I'm talking right now too, it's daylight. It's daylight right now in Australia and New Zealand, and in China and everywhere else, and on the Eastern. So, you know, be aware that you're going to have to do something about it. We don't start now, we're going to lose this planet. And I'm going to tell you one thing. You know me, if somebody don't start something, I'm going to do something about it. I do send love to everyone, and I do agree in love all the time. But there's a time and point that we're going to take our hands into it, because there's a lot of people that are helpless out there that don't want to do nothing. They're scared. And
But you know what? If I can interrupt you, I'm sorry. Those people that, you know, don't have guns, they don't want to do anything with guns or whatever, there's lots that they can do. Get your money out of the banks. They use it when it's in there. So take your money out, use cash for buying things. Don't use those credit cards, because they can turn that off anytime. Use cash.
Exactly. I agree with that.
Yeah, there's other things that you can do. You know, don't use Google to search. Use Start Page, Ixquick. Use something like that. Don't use Hotmail, Gmail, all those kind of Google mails. There's other ones out there. Unseen.com, startmail.com. You know, there's some other ones. Use those. Don't just fall into doing Google stuff.
And another thing is, don't use Gmail's account for your emails. I have Special Forces 1953 at protonmail.com. It's a Switzerland email account that is encrypted both ways automatically. Okay? That's what you need to do. Open an account with protonmail.com. They cannot get in there. That's encrypted in both ends, just like I'm doing the show right now. Okay? I'm still talking. Nobody's knocked me down yet, because I have 12 firewalls on my internet system here. Let them try to go through there. Cody, we only got about 5 minutes left. Oh, we got 6 minutes left on the show. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Cody, can you add anything else besides what we've been talking about?
Well, yeah, Little Pony, that was good stuff, and the Proton, that's all good stuff too. We just have to step back for a minute on all this and look at this. This really is a spiritual war between the forces of light and the forces of darkness. And just like you said, Max, about the Satanists and the pedophiles, I will not tolerate pedophile behavior. I'm not going to say what what I will do about it over the air, but I will not tolerate it under any circumstances. And I will not tolerate that satanic behavior under any circumstances. And so if people do that to me or any other people that I know, they will be met with force. And so we have to step back, though, for a minute and think about the end result here. You know, love is the most powerful force in the universe. And the Satanists and the dark ones and the deep state use fear, and they use, you know, deceit and treachery to trick us and to con us. So one of the things we can do is be very sharp and vigilant, look through the lies and the illusions, and protect ourselves and our families first, and then start with our neighbors and our friends. And hopefully we can start an awakening, because, you know, as I said before, I can't do this alone. You can't do it alone. Little Pony can't do it alone. We've got to have people and help and use the truth, not lies, but the truth, so people can see for themselves. And so I'd ask everyone out there listening, do the research for yourself. Listen to people like Dane Wigington. Listen to Ole Damagard. Listen to Max. You know, listen to people who are trying to get the truth out, and then spread that truth so people can see for themselves and get past the censorship of the mainstream media and all the lies of the New World Order. Because this is a war. This is a fight. And if we don't stand up, they're going to take over the whole world. And so I don't want a microchip in my arm, and I don't think Little Pony wants one in her arm. And
No way.
Mike, Max, but
No way.
yeah. So that's their end result, is to take all the guns away and then